Welcome to Human Driven AI. I'm Jennifer Jones Mitchell. Let's get into it. Well, it's been a really exciting week for AI lately, especially when it comes to generative tools and integrations within existing software.
Yes.
You know, when I give my AI training and workshops for people, one of the things I tell them is you don't always have to invest in an entirely new suite of generative AI tools. Start by looking at the tools and software that you have already and see what integrations have been added, because all of the companies are doing this right now and enhancing their tools with AI. One of my favorite examples of this is the entire Adobe suite.
Right, yes. Carrie just bought that, yeah.
Yeah, Carrie just bought it and is using it for all kinds of crazy content. One of my favorite features is within Photoshop, you can now do generative fill. So here's what I mean. Let's say you have a headshot in Photoshop and you want to add sunglasses. All you do is circle around the eyes and then just type the word sunglasses. And it will instantly put sunglasses on the face, and it will even give you multiple options that you can choose from.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah.
It
you can
really
do so much
is.
with that, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like for musicians, maybe album covers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Art and logos, maybe you could create logos with it. Huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really that it is limitless what you can do now instantly, and you don't have to necessarily be a designer or an expert in the Adobe Creative Suite because the text to generation makes it so easy.
Yeah.
You can also blend images, expand frames. There's in Illustrator, there's a vector generator where you can instantly create editable, that's a hard word to say, editable vector graphics just from a text prompt. And of course, Firefly, Adobe's Firefly 2 is their next generation of an image model. I encourage everybody to check this out because the past versions didn't have very realistic faces and hands, and they've really addressed that. You can really create hyper-realistic images now, photorealistic images.
Yeah, I've noticed it has improved just in the last month or few weeks. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, these are all brand new just in the past few weeks. They've added all these integrations now.
Yeah, I was kind of playing around with some of the art stuff like Dolly and everything a while back, and I couldn't really get much out of it that I liked. But of course, your prompts, make a huge difference using the right prompts. But also, it seems to be improving.
It really is, and that's an important point to make, though, because like Dolly and Midjourney, you can't use the outputs from those commercially. But with tools like Adobe, Firefly, and Photoshop, et cetera, you can. I also really like the image matching in Adobe Firefly, where you can, let's say you're a marketer, you can upload a brand image that you really like. It can be a landscape, it can be whatever you want it to be, but it's the color scheme, it's the look you like. And then you can tell Adobe Firefly to match that with any prompt. So you can have that brand consistency even with new images instantly.
Wow, that's incredible, yeah.
It really is. Adobe also has Adobe Express now, which is their text-to-template tool. It's very cool, but I got to say, the comparable tool to this is Canva. And Canva has gone all in on AI in such a big way.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, that reminds me of the brand colors and the brand templates that you can set up in Canva too. Yeah.
Exactly, because you can upload your brand kit, and not just your colors, but you can upload your fonts. You can even upload your brand's personality. And my favorite feature within Canva is what they're calling Magic Write. That's WRITE, like writing. So let's say you add your brand voice along with your brand kit, and you want to create a presentation in Canva. You can literally just type in website launch, and you will get like a 50-slide deck, not with dummy text. I mean, with the real text that talks about UX and UI and, the program management, and everything is legitimate text within that presentation. And then as long as you have your brand kit and your brand voice uploaded, you just click on one piece of copy and say magic write, and it will change that good copy into your brand voice.
Wow, that's incredible. And anything you don't like there, you could just grab it, drop it in Claude, fix it, and bring it back over, and bam.
That's true. You can always improve on it. But I got to say, I think Canva really is on to something here because, I mean, look, everyone knows I come from marketing and PR, and we would spend weeks and weeks and weeks putting together decks for clients. Mm-hmm. If you can have Canva using Magic Write, instantly write it in your brand's voice.
Right.
It's just, it's going to save people so much time.
Yeah, I remember when you worked for that previous company, y'all went back and forth for weeks on slides, back and forth, trying to get the brand colors right.
Yep.
Everybody's this and that. Somebody would change the slide to the wrong color, the wrong font, and you have to fix all that, But now it's just like consistent all the way through, instantaneous, like in seconds. Yeah.
And Canva, I'm glad you brought that up because Canva also has all kinds of guidelines and protections where you can even make it so that no one can publish anything from Canva until it goes through a certain layer of approvals.
Wow.
So not only can you lock it so that they can't change it, but if they get around the locks and do change your brand colors or make changes you don't want to the actual template part, they can't do anything with it until you get a chance to review it and approve it. And I just love that feature.
That's amazing. Yeah. Gives you a hierarchy, and you can control the brand image.
Exactly. Yeah. Canva's really thought of everything. I really encourage you guys out there to check it out, take a look. Of course, the Adobe Creative Suite is amazing too, but I really am loving what Canva's doing in terms of text to templated content. It's gonna blow your minds. The other big trend that I'm seeing right now, or an emerging trend, I should say, is there's a new generative AI tool that launched called Latimer. It's named after the African-American inventor Lewis Latimer. And basically, they're calling it the BlackGPT because this GPT was trained almost exclusively on all the content from the HBCUs. That's historically black colleges and universities. So here's what blows my mind. This content, this GPT, was trained on all of the literature, political views, perspectives, points of view from people of color. Now, it's no secret, I am a white woman. So if I create marketing copy targeting people of color, it will always have kind of an arm's length inauthenticity because my understanding of the Black experience is obviously always going to be an arm's length.
Sure.
My knowledge of the Black experience comes only from my friends, movies, books, music, etc. So it's always just slightly distant, right?
Right.
But an AI trained on the perspectives, the history, the political views, the literature, the voice, the feelings of people of color, it's going to be more authentic than I could be.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah.
That's just, I'm sorry, but that blows my mind. The AI would be more authentic than a human.
Amazing, yeah. That's interesting.
It's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
And I also think that this could be a sign of things to come. We could start to see, at least I hope we start to see, more audience-specific AI, like an LGBTQ GPT.
Yes.
It's a lot of letters, but you know what I'm saying there.
Right, yeah.
Or a GPT that is trained on women's literature and political views and points of view and perspectives to connect with women audiences.
Yeah, and eliminating the bias and all the things that you would get from normal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. Huh, amazing. That's incredible. Well, you could do the same thing with music, right?
Yeah.
Music. You can have a music GPT.
Yeah.
Talks the language of music, those types of things. Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, you can have all kinds of different specific or GPTs, right?
Yeah, you could get retail GPT that is trained on retail brands and the retail marketplace and the changing media landscape, and you could speak to retail brands in that authentic way. I'm not saying this exists yet, but I hope somebody's working on it. If not, we need to start working on it. But I just think that, not only does Latimer, like you said, address that bias issue because it does give that authentic perspective from people of color. But I just think this is a sign of exciting things to come in AI.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, we can't imagine how it's going to reshape the way we work and do things in the future.
Absolutely.
We're just at the beginning. We're at the dial-up stage.
We are. We're at the dial-up stage. I just heard in my ears that awful dial-up sound. That was a deep cut into my memory there.
That's right.
Well, you mentioned possibly a music GPT. There's a lot happening right now in AI and music. The Beatles just released their first new single in decades.
That's right. Yeah, and I'm actually wearing my T-shirt in honor of the Beatles.
You are indeed. Very nice.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating use of AI. So a lot of people may have seen this already, but Yoko found an old John Lennon tape of a song called Now and Then that he wrote that was incomplete. It was just a demo on a cassette tape that he did sitting at the piano, and just wrote this song. And the Beatles in 1994-95, they looked at turning that into a brand new Beatles song back then.
Right.
But the technology didn't exist for them to be able to extract John Lennon's voice, because it was on a really old cassette tape.
Sure.
A lot of background noise and his voice and the piano is kind of buried in the sound. You can't hear it very well. But with the new AI technology, they were able to extract his voice and train AI on it and create a really clean track with no noise, and it's like crystal clear sound of John Lennon's voice.
Oh.
So they were able to use that, and then Paul McCartney re-recorded the piano part, and he added a bass line to it, obviously. And then they used George Harrison's recording from way back in '94, when they were considering recording this song, and took his guitar solo that he created for that and flew that into the record. And it's the whole band, and it's a good song. It's incredible.
It really is. And for anybody who doesn't know, I'm a huge Beatles fan. And when I first heard it, and you hear John's voice so clear,
Yeah.
I had goosebumps. I even teared up a little bit. It's incredible. And I know that there are a lot of implications around this in terms of how people can use and recreate other musicians' voices. And you can hear more about that from my incredible husband here. I don't think I introduced you on the podcast, by the way, when we started. So for anyone who doesn't know and hasn't been watching the podcast, this is Dr. David Mitchell, who is my husband, but also a brilliant music composer and educator.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome, honey.
Well, thank you very much.
So you're going to do a whole podcast on this as well, on your own podcast, and I'll make sure to link to that where you can hear more about it. But it's just another example of how AI is opening up so many new opportunities for artists, for marketers, just for anybody who wants to create something new using the latest technologies that are around. It's incredible.
It really is. Yeah, it's going to put a lot of power in people's hands, going forward. You just have to be open to it and willing to learn new tools and think in a different way.
Absolutely. Always. I'll never understand anybody who doesn't want to evolve with technology, especially with AI, because we all know generative AI is transforming how all business is done. And there's just so much to learn from it. There are, of course, risks using generative AI, which takes me to our next topic, which is the Biden administration has upped some of their efforts to regulate AI. Initially, I will say this seemed a little bit more like just more of the same kind of toothless efforts where we're asking the tech companies to regulate themselves. And we saw how well that worked with social media. Yeah. Because, some of the things that Biden is asking for, he's requiring all the tech companies to share their safety tests with the government and to develop standards around, cybersecurity. But I do like that as they develop those standards, they have to work with the Department of Homeland Security. They have to work with the National Institute of Standards and Technology. So he's starting to bring in more government around it, which I think is good. I know deep fakes are a big centerpiece of the Biden administration's concerns and everyone's concerns around AI. So he has told the Department of Commerce to develop watermarking to authenticate official content. And I think this is so important, certainly for governments, but for brands as well, to have a watermark, not just the watermark that says this was developed by AI, but also a watermark that you can use if someone creates a deep fake of your CEO saying something, to be able to say this doesn't have our official watermark on it. You now have a way to prove that that is not official content. And I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And that needs to happen with music for sure, because they're training a lot of this stuff on files that they're scraping from the internet in various places, YouTube and all that. And but that's musicians' voices, that they're borrowing from. But I also wrote an article about this too, where a lot of artists, if you opt in on this, there's a huge upside potential. If you allow your voice to be AI to be trained on your voice, and then you could get a percentage of each song that your voice is used on. That needs to be worked out for sure. And then musicians need the ability to opt in or out, and they need the ability to get revenue from their voices being trained.
Absolutely.
AI being trained on their voices. So, but that could be a huge upside potential for artists who are open to it,
Yeah.
Like Grimes, the lady who said anyone could use her voice, no problem. So, it's fascinating. That's a whole other revenue potential. Then it wouldn't even have to go to the studio or record anything. Their voices just show up on tracks, and you get percentage of it, Don't
That's
even have
amazing.
to work passive income.
Exactly. And so they
go.
would put some kind of tracking pixel in that. So anytime anyone used that voice and then altered it with AI, that original artist would get a percentage?
Yeah, I don't know how that would work. That's a little bit beyond my technical skills, to be honest with you. But yeah, some type of watermark maybe in the sound file, probably in the metadata. But then if you're training the AI on the sound file, it's not the original sound file. It's just the shape of the timbre of their voice.
Right.
But if you can, but really the timbre of the voice could be the watermark, because that's
I bet that's it.
timbre, and they can actually, you could take, how it is with those FBI files, they can take a recording of someone on a phone and tell if it's their voice, just by, like your voice has a unique individual fingerprint based on the shape of your throat and how your voice shapes the overtones, it's uniquely different for everyone. That's why our voices sound so different. So that could be the watermark, really. It's just the unique timbre of your voice.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's so important to get these regulations in place, to get this kind of ability to track the usage around whether it's the voice and image, to make sure that we are, protecting the integrity of brand content, but also the integrity of what we're going to see, because I certainly understand the administration's concern around deep fakes, just from a standpoint of manipulating markets, manipulating governments, creating something that someone didn't agree to do or participate in. So like I said, I do like that he's starting to bring in the Department of Commerce and Homeland Security, and not just saying, oh, we are going to pinky swear with these companies that they're going to regulate themselves. So I do hope that this is, a sign of more things to come. Obviously, we'll continue to follow this and keep you guys informed on not just what the government's doing to regulate AI, but all the new tools, all the new ways that brands are using generative AI. It's definitely exciting times. So thanks so much for watching and listening. Be sure to like and follow so you don't miss a thing.